We have Warzone news, all the latest news from the world of Warzone for you this week. Our top 5 clips mean whoever wins this week gets a Warzone gift package. We also are joined by Callum Swanny. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this one. We have the great CR-56 AMAX, should you be running it in Verdansk. And we take a little look at Quarry to see if it's a good drop site. Hello and welcome to Morezone. I'll be your host, Alan Bryce, and we're bringing you all the action we have to show you this week. Of course, we have our fantastic news section to start with, so let's get right into it with Morezone news. In the news this week, we have BR Stimulus Solos has come to Warzone. If you have 4,500 on you, you can buy yourself back instantaneously and get back into the fight. The Gulag is disabled for this mode though. We also have the CDL Champs Pack has hit stores here. Get your hands on it for great new blueprints for the M4 along with other weapons, as well as signatures from 55 pro players from 11 teams and some great weapon charms as well. Not only that, but if you want more CDL, you've got it. The CDL Team Supporter Pack is here. You get calling cards, you get emblems, and you get sprays. All available for purchase right now. Also, news regarding the M-Fan Gauntlet by Nick Merckx. They have officially partnered with Activision, bringing the prize pool to 100,000. This is now one of the biggest Warzone tournaments out there, and it is getting more and more popular, featuring top influencers, pros, and streamers. From one big tournament to another, the Weekend Warzone happened again this weekend in the CDL, featuring all the pro players from the franchises. This time around, it was duos. Will eventually be won by Priester and Celium, who end up taking it down Dens in the very final kill of this match and walking away with the victory. Not the only winning in the CDL this weekend though. The New York Subliner Home Series was on, and New York were in the final against the Chicago Huntsmen. This time, however, New York will walk away the victors, their first win in the CDL this year, and very much deserved as we head towards the Grand Championship postseason. And that is everything in the news this week. There you go, Morezone news done and dusted. Plenty of great things to hear about this week. And speaking of great things, let's jump into our top 5. If you do want to submit to the socials on screen, either a Twitch clip or a YouTube link to the Morezone on Twitter or Reddit r/Morezone. This week's winners will get a chance to get their hands on some wonderful Warzone goodies. So without further ado, let's take a look. Sniping week on Morezone this week, and we kick off with Jimster71 as he looks for two people fighting in an aqueduct, and he gets the first one, waits for the second one to slow down, and that is an easy two-piece with a semi-automatic. Now, Shal Ajul has a snipe long range, sees a helicopter through the smoke, takes it down. One shot, one kill, long range kill there for number 4. Number 3 has it on with HDMN Stone. And I have edited this pick ever so slightly because it is actually going to be a back-to-back. First snipe goes down, taking that quad from long range. And now, just a little while later, he is going to see a helicopter. Goes for the shot, gets the blue on him, lines it back up, and you can just see he gets the second one as well. Possibly the most long-range shot this week. As you can see, Ashley A. Trooper has eyes on a buggy all the way over by the hangars, tries to hit a few shots, and eventually hits the snap, downs that player, and with a few follow-up shots at long range, will eventually wipe that player out of the game. They don't even know what hit him. Our number 1 this week and winner of the Warzone gift package is going to be Bo Nessa's Season, as he sees two players line up. Collateral, 1 shot, 2 kills, complete team wipe, and it's done. Well, there's our top 5 clips. Fantastic this week. Lots of long-range sniping going on, which was the challenge I set. If you want to be involved next week, keep an eye on my socials as well as the Morezone socials, and we'll let you know what the next challenge is to get your clips in for. But from that section to this one, now we are going to catch up with a wonderful friend of mine, Callum Swanny, the ex-pro player, to find out what he's running in Warzone. All right, well, hello, Swan. Thanks for joining me here. How are you?
Pleasure's mine, Bryce. Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm glad we could have you on, especially since you are currently at the top of pretty much every scoreboard I have on in game for Warzone.
Yep, I've been playing a ludicrous amount. You know me. But yeah, I've been. I always said like if I get into something like Warzone, I'm just gonna end up playing it an inordinate amount, and here I am, 12 hours a day at the moment.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. It means you're going to give us some fantastic advice. All right, let's get straight into your class. Running a new gun that I have heard rumblings about so far in Warzone of it being very, very good. It's an overkill class, but let's jump straight into your main gun, the Bruen. Why is this your go-to at the moment?
So I won't claim to be a pioneer of any sort. I essentially just watch people better than me and just copy their loadouts. But I've seen
Is there any?
there's the people well, Teep, for example, he's been running the Bruen a lot, so I've just been watching him, and it's just ridiculous. Like we ran into someone running it a few weeks ago, and this is like before it was meta.
Yeah.
And I thought it must have been a pro player at first because I had to back down from the gunfight like 5 times. They just didn't miss a bullet, and then eventually found out it was the Bruen. And obviously, since the Grau's been nerfed, it's kind of opened up a lot more possibilities for people to explore different loadouts, and the Bruins just turns out to be arguably the best gun in the game at the moment.
Okay, yeah, let's kind of quickly go through what you're running on it then, because I mean, a lot of this seems fairly standard across most things for a main weapon in Warzone, right? Monolithic suppressor, bigger mags, you've got 60-round mags on there. The VLK looks like a bigger barrel and attack laser, right? Why does that help on the Bruen?
So this specific combination and this loadout is
Yeah.
designed for 2 reasons, like to maximize the range on it and to make it seem more like a natural AR rather than an LMG. So if you notice the 60 round mags, like although it reduces the ammo capacity, if you look, it increases ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed. So it just makes it feel more like a conventional AR, I guess,
Yeah.
rather than LMG. And like everything else is pretty standard. Like monolithic is one of the best attachments. That obviously increases range. Tac laser just for ADS speed. Like a lot of people run that. And then what is the XRK Summit 26 barrel? That's range again. And the VLK, you've probably seen people run it on the Grau and the Kilo. That's just one of the best optics.
Okay, well, here's another question for you about this gun. So I've been thinking about running this, and I'm sure people watching will have as well. Is there a big kind of movement penalty? How different is it from kind of running a main AR? Because I was always a little bit nervous going, oh, it's an LMG. I don't know if it's going to be okay for me.
Yeah, it's actually not that different. Like I said, with the 60 round mags, it essentially turns it into an AR. And obviously, the majority of the time, you're running around with the MP5 anyway, because most people are using overkill. So you'll generally be moving around the map with the MP5, and then if you know you're going to get into a long range engagement, that's when you pull out the Bruen. But it doesn't really penalize you that much. And obviously, if you're using double time and amped, you're moving around pretty quickly anyway.
Okay, that's fair enough. I can see how that would work. I'm looking forward to giving it a go. Let's talk about your MP5. And again, I think it's pretty much telling that almost everybody I've spoken to runs this. Yours is only different in maybe one way. There's no laser on yours. Everything else is standard. There's no laser. You've gone for sleight of hand instead.
Is that what people use instead? Sleight of hand?
No. People usually use the tac laser. Sorry, tac
Instead
laser.
of sleight of hand, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have no idea why, honestly. I probably just copied this class off someone. The only reason I felt like with the akimbo pistols before they get nerfed, the compensation of people being able to see your laser was negated by how good they were close range. I just don't like the feeling of going into a building and like people being able to see my tac laser, if that makes sense.
No,
I
that
don't
makes
know.
sense.
That might just be like personal preference, but the MP5 is good enough anyway. Like as long as you have monolithic integral and the Merc like it and 45 round, it's pretty good anyway.
No, I agree with that. And again, I think as you look at your class, you're pretty much set up for a very fast play style. I know I've played with you, and that's exactly how you play. Double time and amped is something that just kind of. Do you ever worry about or kind of change your mind about double time, thinking maybe I should run EOD? Because a lot of people like to run these RPGs and these C4s and such.
Yeah, if I'm immediately tilted post C4 or RPG death, then I consider it. But I just think the benefits of double time outweigh just about any other first perk, I think. You just have to sacrifice that you might be more vulnerable to explosives, but you want to be able to move, especially if for people who have a relatively fast play style, you want to be able to traverse the map as quick as possible. So you
Yeah.
can't really give up double time, even if it means you're more vulnerable to explosives.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, you're running a C4 yourself, right? So you know just how good they actually are in game.
Yeah, C4. I can't think of, if I look now, I can't think of any other lethal that is as versatile as C4s. Like number one, it's good for people camping in rooms and buildings. If it doesn't kill them initially, at least makes them weak enough to win the gunfight. And also
Yeah.
vehicles is probably the main one. I'm sure the amount of times you've seen people get clips of 4-piece C4s onto helicopters or trucks or cars. So I think in the current meta, C4 is a necessity. Unless you're a troll and you run like throw knife or something like that. But I don't think there's anything else which is as beneficial as C4s.
No, I agree. I agree. It's the same thing as a heartbeat sensor, right? I mean, a few people are thinking about changing that option out with a heartbeat, but especially early game, before people get their ghost classes, it's so valuable to know if somebody's in that building you're about to push.
Yeah, I kind of alternate actually. It just so happens that this class I'm showing you has heartbeat on, but I mean stuns in certain games and situations can probably get you more kills than a heartbeat. Like I know Miles said he was using flashes on the last episode. But yeah, anything like stuns or flashes can get you out of some tricky spots. It's just the main thing is utilizing your utility. I think if I was to give a tip to people, it would be use your utility more in fights.
All right, well, let's talk about where you like to drop then, Swan, because I know for a fact you go for very high kill games. I've already said, you have the highest, I think, score per minute on my scoreboard. Huge KDA, and you've killed more people than, I think I've ever seen in Warzone. So where are you going and why?
Take a guess, Bryce.
Okay, I've played with you, so I know. But okay, so it's Superstore, right? You're going to Superstore.
Yeah, religiously. 12 hours a day, just consistently dropping super after each other. Purely because, number one, it's one of the most central landing spots on the map. So similar to firing range on Blackout, it just offers the best rotations. I think there's a lot of other kind of hotspots around it. Like you can, depending on when you come out of Superstore with your loadout, you can go police station, you can go storage, airport. You can rotate over to silos. It just offers the most variety, I think, in terms of rotations. And secondly, it's one of the best loot spots if you think how much loot is actually in that area. So if you happen to come out the victors, even though there's a lot of people landing there, it's worth the sacrifice, because if you come out, you're basically guaranteed a loadout, guaranteed a healthy stack of cash to buy whatever.
No, that makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense to me. Not for the faint of heart, though, I will say.
Yeah, the only negative is that between certain peak times, it turns into a CDL lobby, I think, of professional players all decked out in their CDL skins landing there, so it can get pretty... I mean, it's renowned for being, like, a pretty hot spot. So you know what you're getting when you land there.
No, I fully agree. I fully agree. All right, let's talk about your tips for your playstyle then, because some people come on, they play pretty well, but I know for a fact that at least when I played with you, your playstyle is not only fast, but it's less joined together than some other people. Maybe for the higher skill players, some tips and tricks, because you put up impressive numbers. You not always have the support of the team. But what would you say for somebody who wants to kind of play like you or get that next level?
Watch people, I think, and I always extend this tip to aspiring competitive players as well. Just watch the best players. So for me in Warzone, it's people like TB, Jukies, Priester when he plays, Tommy. There's an abundance of ridiculously skilled players. People far more skilled than I am, and I just tend to I watch them a lot and not copy them, but I try to at least, if either their loadout or their playstyle, just implement certain aspects of it. So whether it's like how they approach a certain fight, or how they're utilizing tacticals, things like that. Like just watch as much as possible, and you'll just subconsciously pick up certain things and add them to your own gameplay, I guess.
No, 100%. That sounds like a great tip for a lot of people. Kind of learning and kind of adding new things to your gameplay is always needed, I think.
One more as well, which I thought the last episode Miles mentioned, which I'd like to agree with, is don't always just instantly go for the finish on someone. Like, if you're in a squad fight, it's important to acknowledge that if that guy's downed, yeah, he might have self-revive, but he also might have teammates around him who are basically waiting to trade the kill. So it's important not to tunnel. I know you want the kill, but it's important not to tunnel vision too badly on ending the guy and focus on actually winning the fight.
Fair enough. I think that's a very good one as well. I think I'm actually guilty of that myself.
Me too.
But awesome. All right, thank you so much for joining me here, Swanny. And I know people can check you out streaming again, so I'll make sure all your socials are in the bottom bar there. And I appreciate you kind of giving me your time.
Cheers, Bryce. We'll have to get some games in super soon.
We certainly will. Thank you very much, Swan.
Cheers, mate.
So, looks like me and Callum Swan have a date at Superstore sometime in the near future. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to that interview. If you did, let me know in the comments below. But from what is good and what Callum Swan recommends to something a little bit different. We're going off the meta this time with the CR-56. Today we are looking at the CR-56 AMAX, a heavy-duty assault rifle, and personally, when getting into this gun, I was very excited to try it in Warzone. The reason being is that I picked one or two up, and it was just so ferocious in the way it took people down. This is the way I recommend you run it, by the way. Monolithic suppressor, the extra long barrel, VLK is the best optic in the game. You're probably also going to want the 45 round mags, but you could ditch them, it's only 15 extra rounds, and the Commando foregrip. But you can probably have a look at running the Merc foregrip on this as well. One of the biggest reasons you have to run these things is the recoil on this can be monstrous. With the extra power, you do get a little bit extra kick going down, and that can be a little bit of a problem when you're trying to take down long-range targets. It still hits hard, but it needs to be controlled. Tap firing at long range, also very viable. It's one of these guns where I couldn't find the exact sweet spot for it. I was wondering whether or not a shorter design and using it maybe as a secondary close to mid-range gun with a sniper rifle may have been better for it, because what it does is be powerful but not as accurate as it could be. And in Warzone, what really matters a lot of the time is getting bullets on target. And if you can't do that consistently, no matter how powerful your rounds are, you can put yourself at a disadvantage. It's certainly a gun you want to mount up with if you're going for those longer bullets. I did, however, enjoy it. It's one of these things where you really have to just kind of dial in and drop somebody, but you'll be surprised at just how quickly they do go down. And I think that's also one of the best things about this, is it's kind of almost a terror weapon, in essence, is that once you start hitting somebody, they know they're getting hit by something really powerful. So they're either going to back off, or you're going to blue them very, very fast, or put them down very, very quickly. People are going to re-challenge that. For a negative of this gun, and it is a very small negative of it, if you want all the attachments I have talked about here, you have to get up to level 66. And that's a little bit of a grind to get it that far, to get things like the monolithic suppressor, which unlocks then. So it can take a little bit longer to kind of get it to its max potential. But truthfully, I'm looking to see, you know, if I can continue to play with this gun, maybe play around with the attachments, get it a little bit better, because I am very impressed by its power. And for me, you know, the recoil, it is controllable at everything except extreme ranges. So if you fancy something, you know, maybe running with a sniper rifle that gives you a bit of an advantage close range, maybe take the VLK off, maybe try something a little bit different with it, give it a go. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by just how usable this weapon actually is in Warzone and how much fun you can have with it. It's something that I do suggest you give a go. I would recommend, like, I run it with an MP5 because I still think, you know, super close range is the best gun in the game, but it's worth a go. I like it. So, that's the CR-56. If you do love that gun, let me know if there's anything I should be changing with it. But now let's move on to our map highlight, a place that I don't very often go but explored for this episode. We're heading now into Quarry. Today we take a look at Quarry and everything it has to offer in the game of Warzone as we drop into it. Now, as you can see, this is an interesting area. It has multiple levels of elevation from the terrain itself. This is going to be more of a concern later game. Like, if you end up going to Quarry late game and rotating into this area, that's when you've got to be a little bit careful. Make sure you get into the high side of the circle first, or you'll find yourself trapped against the cliffs. As for the buildings and the rest of it, it's a little bit disjointed. There are multiple buildings here, a good opportunity for some loot, but it is all quite broken up with areas between these buildings. This is an area I don't frequently go, but you can find usually 2 or 3 teams here. The problem being is that it's very easy to lose a team into this one. It's actually the reason I died on this playthrough is we already killed 2 teams. We thought we were safe. There was just a 3rd team just hanging out. Didn't even realise we were there either. They managed to get the jump on us and we went down. And it's one of the problems with Quarry that it is such a big kind of spread out area with lots of things kind of breaking up line of sight. So you don't exactly know everything that's in there. It's a difficult area to control. Most of the buildings have multiple levels, multiple entrances, and it can get you in a lot of trouble. Like I said, you know, it's one of these things that I don't think either kind of playstyle really suits it. You have to have a mix of the long range and the short range to survive in Quarry, because people will be up top, people will be in these little nooks and crannies all over it that the game has so many of in this area. So my best advice for this is, you know, get a drop, get the contracts you want, and probably rotate out. Again, the rotations aren't fantastic. Not a lot of things super near it. It tends to be the other side of the map or near the center that has a lot of the good locations to kind of get around with. So if you do drop here, I suggest dropping here when the drop is right over it. It's a first drop. You want to go for it. Or if you're on a gulag comeback and you're like, well, you know what, I need to get a contract to get my teammates back, then it's a good area. You know, it has a few things for it. And maybe if you want a little bit of a quieter time on your initial drop and it's a bit out of the way, you may find people here, you may not. But Quarry, if one thing, it is different. Give it a go. It's not like any other place. Well, there you go. That's Quarry. And of course, if you do love going there or I've missed anything, always let me know. Our socials are Reddit r/Morezone or the Morezone on Twitter. Make sure to get your top 5s in for next week. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye. One shot, not a few.